Hello everyone and welcome. My name is John Hubert. I'm the 2017-2018 Cosmopalotin International President. You know, the past few years I've been traveling around our federations and clubs. Seems like I always get the same questions. How do I grow my club? How do I get new members? Where do I find new members? Or once we get those members, how do we keep them? So today we're going to have a panel discussion. We brought in 4 panelists. These panelists have proven themselves to be great cosmopolitans. They know how to bring in new members. They know how to grow their clubs. And they know how to keep the members once they get them. I'd like to first introduce Judy Whitekemper. Judy Whitekemper is a Vice President of Membership. And Judy's done a tremendous job through the year bringing in club members. And she started our newest club, the St. Charles County Cosmopolitan Club. It's one of our newest clubs, and Judy did a tremendous job doing that. Next, I'd like to introduce John Nicasi. John Nicasi is the father to a club runner. He updated our website. He's also the president of one of our flagship clubs, the Rockford Cosmopolitan Club, a great club. Thank you for coming, John. Then we have Levon Barbara Hawking. She came with us about 15 years ago. She joined the club, was just kind of floating along and floundering in the water. And she's turned that club around those 15 years. She's been president numerous times. She's been the Mid-States governor numerous times. Now she's up to 44 members or 43, Levon?
44.
44. Great job. And thank you for coming. Then we have what we call the Spark Club. That's Chris Janke. He's the current Mid-States governor. And I tell you what, anytime you want to get something done, you give it to Chris. He gets it done. And thank you very much for coming too, Chris. I put out a plea to the governors a couple months ago, asking them to go out to the clubs and ask their members, what would you ask a panel of cosmopolitans that are discussing membership? What questions would you ask them? So the governors came back with a few. The first one I got back was, this was from Russ at the Capital Federation. Russ wants to know how we can leverage technology to gain membership.
So John, I'll kick in on that one.
Great, thank you very much.
The best thing a club can do right now to leverage technology to gain membership is to jump on the platform of choice that Cosmo International made the decision to move to about 2 years ago at this point, and that is a Club Runner platform. The reason we chose Club Runner is because it's an already functioning and refined third-party platform that we can rely on and not have to work with, logistics and coding. It's already ready to go. It's already set. We just need to move our clubs into the infrastructure, and it's ready to go. The number one benefit of moving into that is increased communication with your members. And Chris, we're both Rockford Club members. We saw how Club Runner benefited our club just in the last 12 months specifically, when we went from 196 members up to 219 right now. And one of the ways we did that was based on better infrastructure, better communication, more engagement with our lunches and our social events. So absolutely, hands down, the best thing they can do is take advantage of this platform that we have moved into. And on top of that, it's cheap. It's only $15-20 a month. I mean, that is very inexpensive for a working platform like this.
I think that answers that question. Any further discussion on that question about technology or something like that? You know, Chuck Senkner, he's been around a long time too. He's up there in the Cap Fed. And I think this might also be one of your questions, because it also ties into what Keith Purnell. By the way, Keith Purnell sent me an email too a couple nights ago with a group of questions. Keith Purnell is the president of the Cosmopolitan Club in Norfolk. He's done a tremendous job. I like a lot of things he's done. He's getting that club up and growing. And I like his tagline here. His tagline below his name as president is, what are you doing to help us reach 100 club members by 2019? He puts that on like I put on mine, showing Cosmo Pride. That's what he puts on his tagline. I think it's pretty nice. And they do a tremendous job at the Straylet Center right there in Norfolk. Anyway, his question is, along tied in with this other one, Chuck wants to know, how do we attract new members to an aging club? While his is, how do we handle socially merging a wide variety of members, 30 to 30-year-olds with 90-year-olds? We have any 90-year-olds in there? I don't know. That's his question.
We have Ray Villarta, who is 91, right?
Yeah, he joined in 1957, I believe.
1957? You mean 1857?
Yeah.
1957.
He comes every Thursday.
He's not that old. I was born in 1948. He can't be 90.
He's extremely sharp.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Great. Well, how do you do that? How do you merge it?
Well, it really starts with one person, I mean, and if we go back to when I joined the Rockford Club in 2009, remember, Chris, I was the youngest Cosmo for at least 2 years.
Yeah.
I think I was age 29 at that point. And not that I want to put it all on me, because that's not true by any means, but I feel like I might have helped bring in more young people at that point. I could have made the decision 2 years in to join a different club, do something else, cancel my membership. I decided to stay in it. I decided to get more involved. I decided to jump on the board, go through the ranks. At that very point, when we had more younger guys come in, like Kevin Shellstrom, and visit the club, he gets to meet myself, he gets to meet a couple of other younger guys that are in there. Before you know it, it's very easy for them to join because they've already made friends with us. So the best recommendation I can say is start with one. And if an aging club needs a reason to bring in somebody young, it could be from our previous question, which is the tech question. Bring in somebody young that's tech savvy, that can help you with your website presence, make them a member, and tell them to invite their friends, and then have fun events.
Yeah.
Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, just to add to that, John joined 1 year before I did, and he was on the board. I mean, I think they ask you to be on the board immediately.
Well,
and we hear
was
the
2
older
years.
guys say that, but yeah, a couple years. But this club has always purposely asked younger guys to be at-large board members. And look, it's worked out. You passed on the opportunity to be president a couple times. You were in line ahead of me, but you wanted more time, and it's worked out perfectly. But I would say another thing that clubs could do is have a variety of events. If you're stagnant and you have the same events every year just because those were the events that your club had when you joined, ask the board at the next meeting to think of a new event for the next quarter, and one that might attract young people. So we have a variety of events, and there's something for every age group, and I think that works for our club. There's some things I don't go to, but there's some things that the majority of the people there would be in their 30s, so it works that way.
And just to back you up on that, that's exactly what you did when you were president of our club. Is you insisted on bringing some new events. And remember, that was the year we started our annual boat trip.
Yep.
And attendance was a little light that first year, but that really didn't matter because of what we were trying to do and how we were trying to attract younger people. And here we're going on year 5 of that event, and all of the young guys in our club couldn't be more excited about it. So, what you said is definitely real.
I was at a Mid-States Federation meeting 3 or 4 years ago now. One of the older Rockford guys was there, and somebody asked him, "How'd you guys turn that Rockford club around? How'd you get it growing so quick?" He says, "We just turned it over to the young guys."
Yeah.
He said, "They've done a tremendous job."
People may not know this, but in 2005, I think it was, we had about 35 members.
Yeah.
From what I've heard. I wasn't a member then, but it's gone from there, and it really was. The old guys just turned it over to the young people, and probably had no idea where it would go, and look where it's gone.
We have another question here too. I have about 3 of the same questions. Is how can we make a way for potential members who cannot attend regular meetings? Then another one, some members cannot make the meetings. How do we handle this? Is it okay? And another one tied to that, how do we keep members connected when they can't attend meetings?
That's a very good question, John.
Thank you, Judy.
All of our clubs have members who join us because they like what we do in our communities and for diabetes, and they want to support us, but don't have a lot of time to attend meetings or get too involved. Therefore, it is important that we keep them connected to us, and one of the best ways to do that is through communication. Have newsy newsletters, email blasts, of what's happening in our clubs. Who was our speaker today? What did they share with us? What have we just completed in our community? What are we going to be doing next, and when? It also helps to have an up-to-date website or a social media page that members can go to and check on what we're doing. They may not be too active now, but if we keep them connected to us through communication, they'll feel like they're a part of things that we're doing and can readily talk about us to their friends and refer members to us. And keeping them connected, when time allows, they'll be more apt to jump right in.
You know, when I was president of the luncheon club, I'd go back to the office after lunch. We had weekly meetings then. And I'd type up a newsletter, a little letter going out saying what we did at lunch, who was the speaker, and what happened. Every time, you know, it only took you 10, 15 minutes to do that. Every time I went for lunch, I'd run back to the office and type that up and send it out, so everybody knew what was going on that way at least. At least those that read their email. You know how that goes up. Okay, any more discussion on that? That's a big question, big answers.
Well, we definitely mix our events up. We have night events, we have day events. I mean, I would say we
Oh,
have
okay.
more day events
Good
than we
idea.
have night events, but it definitely, there is a mix. So if guys cannot break away for an hour during the day to come to a luncheon, they might be able to come to an after-hours social. You know, and we typically have an after-hours social probably about once a month, once every month and a half. And then for some of our special events, those are even on weekends, like our man cave crawl, where we tour the man caves of some of our members, or even the boat trip, which happens on a Saturday. So even at minimum, if you can't attend something during the day or you've got obligations at night, there's a few Saturday events sprinkled in there, and even some Saturday volunteer events that people can engage in. So I mean, there's little excuse where somebody couldn't attend at least some of those.
And
Well,
you
you guys
have
have-
great communication with your members so that they
That's
know
correct.
everything that's going on
That's
and
correct.
jump in when they can.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that, an idea for a new event, we call it the man cave crawl, but we got the idea a few years ago, and people volunteered to let us come into their homes to do a pub crawl. I mean, that's what it is. You know, each home has, a type of drink, and then each home has a type of appetizer, and we have a bus, so no one drives, and we just visit a few places, and it is an awesome event, and everyone in the club of all ages loves it. And you get to, when you go to someone's home, it's more personal, and you get to know that person a little more. And I was shocked when we started this event how many people volunteered to have people come over to their home. That is a very popular event, and I would say that would be a good new event for smaller clubs, for sure.
Those are some good ideas. I know at Rockford, you guys, there's something for everybody.
Right.
Something for everybody at Rockford. Okay, Angela up in Western Canada, she asked this: how do we turn fundraising events into membership grabbers? Got any ideas on that one, Chris?
Yeah, so at our fundraisers, we have 3 primary fundraisers, and one of the things that we do is any member is allowed to bring a prospective member at no cost. So the first thing I would say is, if it's an event where you're charging money to cover the cost of the event, let people know well in advance that this is an event that is not only a fundraiser, but it is also a membership event, and they can bring prospective members at no cost. So we have always done that, and I'm always kind of surprised, but we have 5 or 6 prospective members that seem to show up at most of our events, and they have a blast. And it's no cost to them. They get to meet other people. They learn about our cause, and that works well for us. So that would be something, an idea I would say.
I know Judy down in Columbia, we put out a table for a membership at every fundraiser we have to. I know
We
Judy
do.
big on that.
Mhm.
Put all the Cosmo advertising on our banners up, and people demand the booth to answer the questions.
Prospective members get to know more about us, meet more people, and know more about what we do at
Right.
events than they do attending a meeting. So.
I know when Judy started up that St. Charles Club, didn't you make up a bunch of brochures or take them around all the businesses?
Mhm.
Yeah.
We're starting a new club in your area. Jump
Yeah.
on board.
Okay, we have a question from Angela, our Western Canada governor. She asked, younger people think it's odd they must pay dues. Should the club cover their dues? Do we have any discussion on that?
Yeah, I've got a couple comments on that. I would say that clubs should not help with the dues. The dues are a way to cover the expenses of the club and are outside of, the fundraising dollars. So at our club, every dollar we raise goes to charities, local charities, and when we ask for sponsorship, we make sure we say that. And, you know, we keep the money in the community. The way we run the club is through our dues, and once we explain that to our prospective members, no one has an issue with it. Our dues are $43 per quarter, and about 28 of that goes to CI or the Federation, and $15 per person per quarter goes to the club, and we use that money to offset the cost of our events. And I think, you know, once it's explained, no one has an issue. You know, we're all doing this for charity, and there's you know, many benefits of being a member of Cosmopolitan, and yeah, so we don't have an issue with it.
You know, John, to elaborate on that, it seems as if there is a prospective member that wants to join for free. There's a perceived value problem with that club, you know, and you know, what goes into perceived value? Well, how are you branding your club? How are you marketing your club? You know, if your website looks ancient, then that's perceived value. That's a perceived value problem for your particular organization. So pay attention to that. Pay attention to what people are seeing. You know, and we actually go a step farther too with our luncheons. You know, every lunch that one of our members attends, they have the option of saying their name and also the business they work at. So if somebody is trying to network their business as well, which we're not a business networking organization, but they can at least say their name and their business name. And people get referrals out of that. That's a return. That's a perceived value to join the organization.
You know, Levon, you brought in a lot of new members. What's your opening statement when you're looking for a new member?
Actually, I don't have an opening statement looking for a new member. During the conversation, it just may come up as, what do I do for fun or something like that. So then I'll mention that I belong to the Cosmopolitan Club, and they look at me and I'll say, no, it's not the magazine and it's not the drink. That's always the same thing. But we are an organization for diabetes, and we raise funds for education and research and send kids with diabetes to camp with their peers. And 9 times out of 10, the camps will get their attention. Now that we've got the dogs, that will also play a part of it too.
Great. Any other ideas on that question?
We'll go on to talk about how, for instance, the Aurora Club, we're in our 91st year now as an organization in Aurora, and that we have clubs in Elgin, Rockford, 2 in Elgin, 1 in Rockford, 1 in Belvedere, and then the new club in Valparaiso. And I'll talk about the 6 federations throughout the U.S. and 2 in Canada. And that we're at about 1,500 members nationwide, and that, oh my gosh, you know, first of all, they've never heard of Cosmopolitan. And that we hold various fundraisers throughout the year, and our monies go, again, towards camp scholarships to send kids. And I also promote the international conventions, which I think are just wonderful. You meet people from all over, and you can't wait to go the next year because now it's a family reunion. Can't wait to see our peers, and you only see them maybe once a year. And the friendships are priceless.
Thank you very much. You know, Garrick Mocan has a question too. He wants to know, how do we publicize our clubs? How can we increase interest and awareness? John, you're a natural for that one.
Sure.
You're in that service.
We've, you know, this has been on our minds in the past, and you know, typically what we'll do is if we've got an important volunteer event or fundraiser coming up, we'll reach out to the news if they haven't already heard about it, because, you know, in modern day, the news stations are looking for positive news. You know, a lot of broadcasts are actually blocking out a segment for something positive going on in that area. And by inviting them to something that's going on in the community that's positive, it's a no-brainer. It's free publicity for the club, can help grow membership. It's just, you know, a lot of goodwill. So I would definitely call the news.
Okay. I know we used to use a little bit newspaper advertising for pancake and sausage, didn't we, Judy, and the spaghetti dinners, and it works out. We tried one year to give $1 off, put $1 off coupon in there, and kept track of how many came back. Then we got 50 for P&S one day, one year. Some good answers. Anything else on publicizing our clubs?
You know, John, you can also look for highly networked individuals, make them members, invite them
Yeah,
to meetings.
you're right.
I mean, when somebody's highly networked, and there are different, there are certain businesses out there that require a lot of networking, like insurance, financial world, internet marketing, right? Invite those people to the club, make them have a great time, and then they'll invite their friends. So you'll naturally get more publicity and awareness out of that too.
Great. Here's a big general question. Where do you look for new members? My gosh, there's
That's hard.
people all over. It's the biggest customer base I've ever seen in my life, and everybody can be a member, basically.
It's hard to get people to come to your meetings. We invite them to our fundraising events or some organization that we might go to. Just bring a friend along. Who knows? That might spark their interest and encourage them to join the club.
Levon, how do you get them interested in coming to an event? What are some of the questions some of the things you say to them or offer them?
Again, it depends upon what we have going on. We had a membership one night that turned up, a membership meeting one night. Literally, it was supposed to be, I had asked everybody to bring a member, prospective member. And we had 6 members there and we had 6 guests there, which wasn't very good. But that meeting, we had 4 people join.
I think it's pretty darn good.
So the odds were pretty good. 2 actually came because I invited them to come. And when I introduced the prospective members that were going to be installed, somebody else stood up and said she was joining. And then the next thing, a gentleman stood up and said he was joining too, because they both liked what was going on in the club. And one was a prospective member at the time that I didn't know she was going to join, had come to the Scholarship Fest out at Wabansie, that we were present because we had given 2 scholarships to 2 medical students. And she was impressed by that. So you got to get the right, I wasn't trying to get the right person, but it happened. I got the right person at the right time to go to that event, came to the membership night, and she joined the club that night.
You know, the membership events, I think that's the way to go. I was up in Rockford twice. I was at the steak feast and the chili shoot-off. I signed in, I bet you 10 members between those 2 events, maybe even more. It was a great event, everybody having a darn good time, and as far as I'm concerned, if you don't want to join the club, something's wrong with you, you know? Just had a great time out there, just great atmosphere.
To kind of add to that, what we have success with is inviting prospective members to our events, and what we say is, just come to this event. It's not a time really at that point to tell them about Cosmos and all that. Just come to the event, and it's a night out of the house to them, and it's a fun time, and there's no cost. And then when they're at the event, if it's appropriate, and they like what they see, that they'll join that way. So, we don't get a lot of people who come to our lunches every week or our general meetings, if you will, and where we just tell them about Cosmos and they join. We get the majority of our members because a current member just invites them to an after-hours event, and that's it. They don't go into the whole spiel of what Cosmos are, because if you do that, then the person's like, well, wait a second.
Yeah, what are you trying to sell?
Yeah, is this a timeshare? You know what I mean? What's going on here? I just want to, So just get them to come on a Thursday night, and then 50% join.
That actually happened to
Great
me
answer.
when I joined the club. I was invited at the last minute to an Oktoberfest. And I thought, I don't really want to go. Well, we're picking you up in 15 minutes, so okay. I went and I walked in this room and I thought, seriously, this is a membership night. Oh, what did I get myself into? Well, I'm not joining. But after I sat there and they started the program and I started listening to what the club was really about, I thought, wow, I have nothing to do on a Thursday night. I'm joining this club.
Yeah.
We briefly touched on networking. Chris, what's your opinion on networking?
Well, as John said, we're not a networking,
Exactly.
club, but it's kind of a natural offshoot of interacting with a lot of people that you become friends with and you interact with in the club. So at our club in particular, there is a ton of networking. Not only in insurance, but you know, in all aspects. I got my carpets cleaned a couple weeks ago, and I called a Cosmo. I had hail damage to my roof, and I called a Cosmo who told me who to call, and it worked out beautifully. So, you know, if you can work with a friend to accomplish something you need to accomplish in your personal life, you know, then you can talk to the person directly, and you can get the best price. So I don't understand why anyone wouldn't network with a friend, be it a Cosmo or whoever, to, you know, for something like that. But there's a lot of networking in our club, but it's never mentioned, and it just comes about naturally over the years.
You know, all my years in the insurance business, I always gave my business, the person gave me their business. And I think that's just the American way. I don't see anything wrong with it.
John, if I could kick in one piece
Sure.
there too. The Club Runner platform that we are now on makes it very easy to pump out a custom report directory of all your membership as well as the business they're in. So we update this on a monthly basis, post it to our website privately so only members can see it. So if they're actually looking for a Cosmo and they need a certain service done in their personal life, they can go to that directory and see if anybody that's in our group does that. So the new platform helps facilitate that as well, and it all goes back to return.
That's almost worth the price of membership right there. Great. Okay, here's something we have a lot of trouble with in our clubs too. How do you keep members motivated, interested in the club? And how do you keep your club's meetings fun and interesting? You got any comments on anything like that? I know some people just don't like to go sit at meetings and then just sit there and wait to go. Is there any tactics you guys use to keep your clubs fun to go to, and luncheon meetings and things like that?
Well, so one thing that I think is important to do, and it may seem strange to hear this, but I think it's important to not put pressure on your members to attend every meeting. And that may sound crazy if you're a member of a club with 10, 20, or 30 members, because you probably feel like you need all this attendance, but it's counterproductive. People don't like to be forced into anything, so it's better to, as a board, just create some events, add to what you already have, and if you do that, what you'll find is people will naturally sign up and attend what's of interest to them. And that's the best way to do it, because they're there because they want to be, and they're interested, and they're there to have a good time. That's what I would say about social events. As far as luncheons, we have luncheons every week, and we try very hard to get a variety of speakers. And even though we have 215 members, let's say, we probably get 40 or 50 people each week at a lunch, and that's fine. I mean, it doesn't matter. That's 40 or 50 people who had to eat lunch and wanted to hear this person speak. So it's a combination of social events and luncheons, and trying to keep it interesting for the people.
Sometimes we'll even vary the location of the lunch too. So it doesn't get stale, you know. We'll change the location of the restaurant for the luncheon. We'll, you know, sometimes we meet on location whether or not the presenter is another organization, we might meet on their premises. I mean, we've done a whole lot of different things.
Yeah, that's a great point. If you're a club that meets for breakfast or you meet for lunch and you have this set schedule that everyone knows about, change it up. You know, do an away lunch, and, you know, go somewhere and, you know, have that business owner bring in lunch, and have that business owner or that charity present. And that's a great way to get people to show up.
I know in our lunch club years ago, we used to have a Queen of Hearts game. We used to meet every week. So you draw a raffle ticket, $10, $5, whatever how many tickets you wanted to buy, and they pulled your name out of the hat, you got to pull the card out. And you pull out a 10, you get $10, a 4, you got $4. But you pull out that Queen of Hearts, you got the pot. So I saw it get down to 2 cards once. I couldn't believe it. We had that place is packed. Every club member in the luncheon club was there for that. The crazy thing about it, the guy that won that, he was a guy that hadn't been to a meeting in about 5 years. He came on that darn thing, everybody was so darn mad at him, you know. But that was a fun thing. It was really fun. Everybody just looked forward to going and playing that Queen of Hearts, you know, if nothing else.
Right.
But that was one of the things we used to do. I think we need to get back to stuff like that.
We actually do that in our club. It's called
Yeah.
Pick a Card, and we pull out a card at the beginning of the season or whatever, 8 of clubs, and we do the same thing. It's, whatever you want to spend on tickets. And this last year, I think we ended up going to about the last 5 or 6 cards before it was drawn.
That's hard to believe you get that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I can't believe that.
Yeah, we do the same thing.
You
Instead
sure
of
it's
Queen
in
of
there?
Hearts,
Yeah.
it's Ace of Spades, and
Yeah.
it's $5 to get 5 tickets when you walk into the luncheon, and then at the end of the luncheon, we have the speaker draw the winning ticket, and the person automatically wins $20.
Oh.
And then they draw from the remaining deck, and if they draw the Ace of Spades, they win the pot, and which is 50-50. So every year that gets up to about 3,000, and
Oh my
so
Wow.
at some
Wow.
point, one or more people wins 1,500.
Yeah.
And the club takes 1,500 too.
Yeah, and then
pretty
we've
neat.
used that in the past, for a Boy Scout. That's kind of extra money that we've kind of done some directed grants with.
Well, Judy, you brought a lot of members in. What do you say when a prospective member says, "Why should I join your club?"
Well, I tell them that we get to serve a cause greater than ourselves. We give back to our local community. We can network among like-minded individuals. We socialize during events, and we have fun. And I always tell them that I love being a Cosmo, and I think they will too.
Okay. Then the other thing I ask you all, why do you think most people drop in the club?
That, John, is a question that I could write a book on.
Yeah.
Because being in membership of new clubs this year, I've been doing a lot of research on that. Clubs like ours was once the backbone to our communities and our country. But we've seen significant membership decline over the last 20 or 30 years. Our clubs haven't changed that much, so what has? Our country's changed, people have changed. Our clubs tend to be centered too much on what we want members to do rather than on what they want to do. People want different things. One aspect is their desire to be active right now, like John. He joined the club, he got on the board right away. Most of the people will not wait 5 years to be in a leadership role or to be a fundraiser chair. If they aren't contributing today, they'll walk away. Time is precious. If they won't attend too many meetings if they aren't able to contribute or if they aren't receiving anything in value. So they won't show up and they will eventually drop out.
Right.
I think you have to keep involved. You have to get them on a committee immediately. If they're out of the accounting field or finance field, get them on your finance committees. If they're in marketing, get them on your vice president of sales committees, or vice president of membership. Use that dirty word, sales.
What we do in our club is we bring in a new member and we tell them, this is what we do, and here's who does it. That doesn't leave anything for them. What we need to do is, right up front, ask them, what do you want to do in the club? What do you feel you could contribute? If their background's in finance, put them with the treasurer, let them learn that aspect of it and be whatever they want to get on. Let them get in right away.
And it
Keep
enhances
them
our club
connected.
and hopefully keep them interested and stay with us.
Right.
Yeah, so if I could add to that, when I was president of my club 3 or 4 years ago, we added over 20 members, but we lost probably 10 or 11. And as John knows, I called them, and I would get an email that someone was dropping, and that's how I found out, and I would look them up on the website, and I would give them a call, and a couple of them were surprised and maybe a little embarrassed to kind of admit that they were leaving and why, but it was always the same answer. They just never got involved. That is exactly what, to a person, they all said once you kind of took their 3 or 4 minutes of conversation and cut it down to the real cause. And so it is vitally important, as Judy said, to get them involved right away. Just ask them, what are their interests? What would they like to do? And just tell them, that's how we do things. We need you to get involved. That's part of the vitality of our organization and how we raise money to fight diabetes. So no one has a problem with it. People are happy to contribute, and it works.
You know, almost happened to me when I joined the luncheon club years ago. I went to the lunch, joined up, went to lunch, and nobody said much to you. Nobody said much of anything, kind of sat with the older guys and guys that weren't in the clique, you know. I went back the second week, and I joined, so I kept going. I said, if I wasn't new in town, didn't have anything else to do, not a member of any other clubs, and wanted to get to know some people, I would have probably dropped out. But I went out on my own and found out that they'd have a building cleanup every Saturday, so I started showing up at that. And they found out they had bingo, so I started working bingo, and then finally got involved. But I think we bring so many people in that club, and they sit there by themselves, and they don't know what's going on. That happens at our Columbia clubs a lot. I think we need to get them involved in committees, get them involved in the other aspects of the club, is keep them interested and wanting to help us out.
Well, one thing that's worked for our club is we started a few years ago an ambassador program is what we call it, but essentially it's a mentor program, and we ask former presidents to be a mentor for new members. So every year, say we get 20 new members, and we have 10 past presidents that are willing to be involved, and they're assigned a couple new members, and we ask them to take them out to lunch, explain the history of Cosmos, explain the website. There are about 5 or 6 things that we have in an email that we actually email the former presidents and say, please talk about these things, because who is a better advocate for the club than someone who has gone through the ranks and lives the cause than a past president? There is no one. And if you assign a past president to a new member, you increase your odds of keeping that person long term and getting that person involved immediately. I mean, 3 or 4-fold probably.
And Judy, isn't that the purpose of our gift cards now, for bringing in members?
That's what we like for it to be. When you bring in 3 new members.
Get $100, I think, for the first 3.
And it would be great if the person who sponsored those members would use that to take them out to lunch and talk about Cosmo and that type of thing. Because we really feel that they should, whether it's your past presidents or the member that brought them in. Someone needs to be working with a new member.
I also tried to email or phone a person too, what's going on with you, why aren't you there? Is there a problem, or, it could be a family issue, it could be a health issue. You just never know unless you reach out to them.
Yeah, it shows that you're interested in them, you want them to belong, to be in the club there and just get the dues,
Right.
Well, Keith has a few other questions. Let's go ahead and see if we can get through these. How do you break the ice with millennials? I think let's ask the youngest ones first. I'll go first. I'm sorry, John.
Boy, Chris, I think it's actually a pretty straightforward answer. It's a good question, but I think the number one way you break ice with millennials is you show them a good time. You have fun.
Yeah.
Some of our younger guys have come in on those social events where they have a great time and they want to join right then and there, and we're like, why don't you attend a lunch after this event that you have so much fun, and then determine if you want to join or not. We don't want any spur of the moment decisions. We want them to be serious about it. But I mean, if we just relied on our luncheons to do this, it may not be as effective. It's definitely our social events that help us break through.
Yeah.
Well, I was at that chili shoot-off, and I tell you, those young guys are having a great time. They love the card games, they love the shooting, and it's just, you could tell they had a joy being there.
Right.
It's something I rarely see. They really wanted to be there, and they were having a darn good time.
Well, there's camaraderie there.
Exactly.
Well, there is. I think that younger people, in a sense, are easier to get as new members if they come to an event, they meet other people, and they hear the cause and all that. And the reason is they haven't joined a ton of other organizations yet. They're in their 20s or 30s. Their kids aren't old enough to be involved in everything. I mean, in other words, they have time to be in a club like ours, and they're willing to contribute. I think most people want to be part of something bigger than themselves, but at a younger age they just haven't found that yet. And a lot of our younger members get involved right away compared to the people who join when they're in their 40s. Because when they join and they're in their 40s or 50s, let's say, they're already got an established life and their schedule is busy after hours. But the younger people tend to show up more and get more involved.
Okay, it looks like Keith Barnell has a few other questions for us. It says, what point of difference over other civic clubs do you use with young professionals? I think, how do we differentiate ourselves, our civic clubs, from other civic clubs with young professionals? Any thoughts on that?
Sure, I do. I mean,
What do you got there, John?
you know, one point of difference that we have is our actual membership. I mean, there is some crossover. We have membership that is part of other, civic clubs, but I mean, the reality is that our members are awesome. And when young people come and visit and they realize how highly networked our members are in the community, and if those millennials are trying to do better for themselves, whether it's grow in their current position with another business or start their own business, they see the value. So we can definitely differentiate our club based on the actual perceived value of our membership.
Yeah, and I would add to that, fun events is a key and it's a differentiator. We have some people that are members of Rotary, for example, and Rotary is just a weekly lunch and a speaker, and if you can afford it, you can go to the international convention, but that's all over the world. And so most of them don't do that. But what I mean is, we have once a month a fun, awesome event after hours that we can invite people to. And that's not something they get from the other organizations in town. Those organizations are just strictly focused on the luncheons and the fundraising. And people say that.
We already hit on this one quite a few times with a lot of the things you guys do in Rockford. What specialty events or fundraisers do you schedule, manage that interest young professionals? I tell you what, if you didn't like that chili shoot-off or that steak feast, or I sure wish I could go on that cave crawl, there's something wrong with you. I tell you, those sound like some great times to me. I can't picture any young professional that want to join up with you guys.
Or the boat trip, or our charter bus to a Cubs game. I mean,
Or
that we sold out.
The
and
golf
had a waiting
event.
list. The golf event.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things to do. I would challenge all the boards to just come up with 5 or 6 ideas for events. And if you're a smaller club, then don't do them every month. Do them every other month. And you'll be surprised at how many you can think of quickly that are inexpensive and will get members excited, to attend. In Missouri, I don't know why you would not, for $800, get a bus and tickets to a Cardinals or a Kansas City Royals game. That should be an every year event where you guys are, and maybe it is, but we do the Cubs, and it's not that expensive. And people are lining up to pay, $75 or $100 to get a ride to the game, pay for their ticket, drinks on the bus. It's a great value. So, yeah.
Here's another question here. It kind of reminds you of Columbia. The Chamber of Commerce has a very strong young professionals organization, and they do a lot of networking together. And he has that question. How do you compete with local business networking groups when recruiting young professionals? How do we compete with, like, the chamber groups?
I'd say get to them first.
Do them first?
It's a race to get to them first. I mean, if they get asked to join 3 other organizations and then you ask them to join yours and you're number 4 in line, you're probably going to be at a disadvantage. But if you get to them quicker,
You tell them what we believe in, how much we give back to the community, our purpose. We're also networking, plus we're giving back to our community.
Well, that's the difference, right? So I've been part of a networking group. It was called BNI here in town. And I found that, if you were a banker, you were a mortgage person, you were an insurance rep, that was pretty great. Because it seemed to be that they got a lot of leads out of that. But for someone who does what I do, or for many other professionals, I didn't get many business leads. So I would say that, there's a that's different than what we do. But, we're here for a purpose, and that purpose is not yourself. So, you know, be a member of BNI if you want to and get your business leads. You know, this is what we do here. But if you're willing to do it for the greater cause, what you're gonna find is you'll get a lot more business over time.
And sometimes the best leads for business happen when you're not looking for them.
Exactly,
That's correct.
exactly, least
As
expected.
as a business owner, I can collaborate on that.
Yeah, well, we definitely have a world of customers in front of us to ask.
Mhm.
Any other discussion points? Anything else anybody want to say? I think we've had some darn good questions, some excellent answers.
Our older members love hanging out with the younger members. They embrace it.
Yeah, I saw that at the steak feast. Everybody was getting along just fine, and they were proud of you guys. I could see that. Those guys over there, those guys over there, and that,
Yeah.
you know, those old guys sitting around and
It's
enjoying.
it's amazing
Yeah.
too. In the '60s, we used to sponsor an LPGA golf event, and I think it was at this country club. I mean, you find out stuff that you had no idea about. I mean, some of these women that played, you know, Dick Brennison brought in some paraphernalia from that, and we looked at it. And some of the women who played in the event are Hall of Fame golfers. I mean, you know, if you golf, you know their names, and we did that in the '60s. We had no idea. The older guys love hanging out with the younger guys, and the younger guys love it too.
Yeah.
It works.
Not only do they love hanging out with them and everything, but they realize that through the younger generation, their work's gonna go on.
Well, I think we had a great discussion here, and I tell you, I firmly believe, I really do believe this in the bottom of my heart. If we go out and tell everybody what we believe, how we do it, and what we do, we'll increase the number of people in our club drastically. I think we should go out in the community and show your cosmopolitan pride. I challenge you all, show me your cosmo pride, and thank you very much.